What's the most important thing that I teach as a professor that most people don't understand? And that is, don't quit. You are looking at a group of people around you. You have a reference group around you that is highly distorted by a lot of behavioral biases that you possess deep down inside. And you might look at, and I want to explain some of these things that I think are really, really important. You might look at people around you that you think are moving up in some sort of way or that have made it. You don't realize that the entire infrastructure that is behind those people in terms of how they moved up. And I can think of any number of sort of criteria that you might think about in life. So I'm thinking about physical fitness right now, right? And you think that you can't get more fitter or you can't get better at this moment. But because you're looking at other people around you and you're seeing that they're so much more bigger or they're so much more athletic, you don't realize that a lot of people actually really cheat in this world. They'll take all sorts of different kinds of supplements, those kind of things that you just don't see. And they're not going to be open about any of that kind of stuff. And so you are competing against an impossible standard, for example, right? You might think that you're never going to get big enough compared to those people. And that's true, because that those people that you're comparing yourself to are taking all sorts of supplements that you would think that they're not good for you, right? Or you might think about, hey, how come I'm not performing this well in my job at work, right? And how come I don't get there? What you don't understand is that there is a whole infrastructure around those particular people that that is just fundamentally different from you. I think about my kids, for example, and I love my parents. They're amazing, but my parents, I grew up in an era where they did not sit down and kind of do homework with you every single night. But my kids, that's what we do all the time. And now, if you were in a family and you grow up in a family where your parents sit down and do homework and that's part of the culture of doing that kind of stuff, of course you're going to be doing better in school than somebody else that doesn't have that kind of support, right? And you're going to look around, you're going to see that, hey, people are getting ahead, people are doing much better than me, and I feel like I can't get anywhere. Yeah, that's because that they have a different structure behind them. And you're going to want to actually quit. You're going to want to sort of say, hey, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I think about these YouTube videos, for example. I don't have the face of what everybody expects somebody to be on YouTube. I'm not all that pretty and all that kind of stuff. I don't have an infrastructure of video editors and all that kind of stuff. Of course, this is going to be a lot slower and a little bit not as good as what somebody else is doing. So, that's the lesson to sort of think about is, what are you comparing yourself to? And when you compare yourself to other people that are just fundamentally different, they're not they don't have the same structure, the same upbringing, all those kind of things, you're going to want to quit. You're going to think that I'm not good enough, or I am not ready for this because I'm not at this certain stage. We compare ourselves often to people that are 25 years more advanced than us. You might think of somebody that is ultra wealthy and you're like, I can't get there. Well, you know what? Building wealth is incredibly easy. It's just looking at, my kid is learning in 8th grade right now. He's learning exponential functions. And I showed him how you can actually just save money a little bit every time using these exponential functions, grade 8 math. And you will actually get to a point where you will have unbelievable amounts of money just by doing very simple things, by saving in index funds, mutual funds, for the rest of your life, 15% of everything that you make, and you'll have spectacular amounts of money and build wealth and stuff like that. But you're looking at people that are so far advanced, or that they had this really weird lucky break, or that they exploded onto the internet, and then they're this sort of one-hit wonder for a brief moment, and everybody knows who they are because they're spectacularly wealthy, and then they fade out in a year or two, or they become a star for a brief moment and then they fade out and nobody cares about them. All of this stuff happens. I've seen it all happen. Or I've seen some people that are so highly leveraged, for example, you're like, how can that be possible? How are they actually doing that? Turns out that they were highly leveraged. They had a great big, huge credit infrastructure behind them. They're using all sorts of credit cards and stuff like that, and they didn't fare well at the end of it over the long run. So I want you to realize that the world is kind of fake. The sort of reference group that you have in your head is kind of fake. And there's not that many people that are just tried and true, doing the same thing over and over and over again, and just being open and honest about that kind of stuff. So you have to find and realize what that reference group is. You have to understand that, hey, you can't choose. Those people don't exist. How you're imagining them in your head, they just don't exist. It's not possible. And so what you have to do is realize, hey, I'm just not going to quit when I feel like I'm going to quit, and I'm going to keep going, and I think I can actually do this. I can do something in my life that is important. Building wealth, for example, you can actually do that. You can. It's very simple math. It's grade A math. And if you look at it, index funds, mutual funds, they return like 10% every single year. Not every year, but over the course of 30 years, they do return that much, and it's been going on for a long time. Losing weight, for example, you just have to go on the keto diet or eat less carbohydrates. Those kind of, like, that stuff is pretty simple to do, and yet we somehow think in our head that it's impossible to do because we see other people sort of get these amazing results, and we're like, how come I can't get there? Because those amazing results are not real. They don't exist. They're imaginary in your head and how it actually works out. So I think if I can teach you that, and if I can get you to realize that it's just this getting up every day, doing the same thing every single day, one more try, and you just repeatedly do that every day in kind of a real sense, you'll have a much different view of the world. And I think that's the lesson that I would love for everybody to understand. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.